tell you how much that I love you. Let me tell you, me one thing. Let me tell you how much that I love you. You found me no search. It's like you knew that inside I was hurting. I was so young, stood no chance. But you gave me a shot at a romance. I feel like you were like an angel sent to bring me life. Now that I'm with you, me one say that me love it, that me love it, that me love. Hey, me no go one day wonder. What up, my baby, that me love, that me love. And no dance and sing and a ting, because you make my life complete. Oh yeah, oh yeah, I can't believe that this is for me. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, I can't believe that this is for me. Oh yeah. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, it's for me. Shut up, 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 shut up. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, it's for me. I've never felt this way. So when they ask us, say, oh yeah, we're going all the way. Tell me we happy, love you all the time and things. Sometimes I wonder if the thing could cut us under, to get under, I know. Put your love in my life, control that. I lay down my life this way. Do anything to make you stay. All of the blessings, they come my way. And all the bad things, they turn away. Sometimes life is such a scare. Your love gives me the strength to bear. Oh, shut up, shut up, shut up. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, it's fun. Shut up, 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 shut up.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. You got two hostess with the mostest up here. You got me and you got Aubrey Marie. This is her Diversity Uncut. I'm producing it, but this is her baby still. And that's why you see her stuff still up here, because this is Diversity Uncut. So what is going on, ladies?
Greetings, greetings. Ivory,
I'm
you here?
fixing my internet, y'all. Something is wrong with my internet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we are waiting on Miss Sheena and Marshelle. But so what's going on is this, y'all. Aubrey Marie had did two separate shows, and on one of the shows, Miss Sheena Perry had came up, and here she is too. She's coming up just right now. Miss Sheena Perry had came up on, and she was telling her story about what happened and inside of her life dynamic. And me and Aubrey and I, we were taken with her story because it matched and mimicked our good girlfriend Marshelle. And when you hear the stories, you'll understand exactly why we was intrigued. Sheena doesn't even know, because I have not even told her. She just knows that there's a mimic parallel. And then last night, Miss Cosmic Jenny, which you see up there, and yeah, I'm still looking like me with this bonnet on. That's why I'm not. That's why I'm not cammed up. Okay, please forgive me. But Cosmic Jenny shared some of her story of abuse, and I just thought, like, wow, these ladies have come up and they have been able to share pieces of their lives, and I really just want to give them the floor to be able to tell their stories to help other women, because if Sheena and Marshall's story, are parallel, then I'm sure there are other women that are paralleled as well. So greetings, Cosmic Jenny. Greetings, Sheena.
Greetings,
Greetings, everyone.
greetings,
Greetings, ladies.
greetings,
Aubrey.
girl.
So Aubrey, we are hosting together. So whatever it is, whatever. Okay. So I would like to start with Cosmic Jenny until Marshelle gets up here, so we can have a conversation. Jenny, what happened was you said to Rakaya yesterday, you said that you had a situation where you had been literally stomped in
Yeah.
a abusive relationship. Let's get into this relationship if we can.
So, this is with my baby's father. my baby girl, which is 12 now. Um, Her father and I were together for about 8 years, and he was very jealous and very controlling, but he could be the sweetest at times. So one day we had went to this. This is before I was pregnant with Madison. Yeah, this is before I was pregnant with Madison. We had went to this barbecue, um, and we were walking, through the yard, and these guys, they were calling my name, telling me, hey, what's up? Because I used to do stuff that I really shouldn't have done and I'm not proud of, but they knew me from like trafficking, like doing a lot of stuff. So they knew me. So he said nothing while we were there, but I could sense like something is wrong. Like I'm gonna have to hit this shit when we get home. So when we left, I went because we weren't living together at that time. We wasn't living together. I went to my house. He went to his house, and I kept calling him. He wouldn't answer the phone. I called him like 5 hours. He wouldn't answer the phone. So finally, I just got in my car, went to his house. I went in. It was some guys on the back porch, and he and I were in the house. So I was talking to him like, what's wrong? Because I don't know, like me, because I've been in an abusive relationship before. This started way back from my childhood. So he never would answer me. So I asked him again, what the fuck is wrong with you? So by that time, he came at me with his hand around my throat. So back then they used to drink gin. He had like a big gallon gin bottle on his table. And I reached for it and I just hit him across the head with the gin bottle to get him off of me. And I just remember him dragging me through the kitchen. This was the thing that got me, y'all. He dragged me to the back porch where the guys were, and he stomped me with Timberland boots in both of my eyes. So that's why these dark circles are under my eyes. Like my blood vessels were busted. And yeah, it was bad. So one of my friend, her brothers was there, and he finally just pulled him off of me.
Was that the first time?
No,
Or that was the first time it was that bad?
That was the first time it was that bad. I went to the hospital. Some girl took a picture and sent it to my brothers because I wasn't going to tell my brothers because my brothers are kind of lonely. One of my brothers and my cousin, they went and sat on his porch all day and all night and waited for him to come home. He wouldn't go home. So that was a big thing. So after that, I took him back. I got pregnant with Madison. After I had Madison, we were living together, and my oldest could hear us arguing all the time. And I was like, I just can't keep doing this.
Let me ask you this. Why did you take him back?
I don't know. I loved him. That's all I can say is and then.
Did you blame yourself?
I didn't blame myself, but before I met him, I was living in this apartment. So I got certified as a nursing assistant. I went to medical assistant. I got all of that. And when I went to get my RN, I had assault and battery and all that stuff on my record, so I couldn't get in my clinicals.
From him?
No, not from him. This was from another boyfriend, another abusive relationship. But this is like with him. So I was kind of depending on him. Like it was a money thing with him. But one night we got into a big argument, and my oldest daughter, came in the room, and she had a lamp, and she like hit him over the back of the head with it. And that did it for me. I was like, I can't do this anymore because now my child is getting involved. So that's what made me leave him.
How old was she?
Naja was, I think she was like 9 or 10 at the time. So that's what made me leave him.
Wow.
It's like my baby saved my life. Not to mention, like one time we were just riding down the road and he pulled a gun out and he put it between my legs. He was like, "You know I'll kill you, right?"
Mm.
But I'm laughing and joking because I don't know. I was just kind of naive at that time, but yeah, it
I
was a
think a
lot.
lot of times though, Jenny, like we gonna substitute that for love. Like, oh, that's well, he's so crazy, you know. He just love me. I know he just jealous, like, but we don't
Yeah,
recognize that it's not being a natural
Oh,
thing.
right. We don't pay attention to the red flags.
we don't, y'all. And I'm
Mhm.
going to tell you how I feel like spirit has always been with me. They've always saved me. About 8 years ago, he kept calling me. He caught a charge, so he was getting ready to go do 7 years. So he kept calling me this particular night. He was like, I just want to see my daughter before I go to court, before I leave. He's like, I just want to see y'all. I just want to see my daughter. So I didn't let him. I was like, no, you're not coming to my house. By this time, we had broken up. We were done. And I heard him outside, on the porch knocking. He sat on my porch for like 3 hours. I had to get up and go to work that morning at 7. So he finally left. He kept calling me. He called me until like 5 a.m. I didn't answer the phone. At 7, his best friend called me. And I answered the phone and I was no, he was telling me, he was threatening me, which he always did when I left him, that he was gonna kill himself. So his best friend called me at like 7. He was like, is he dead? I was like, what? Who? He was like, your baby daddy. I was like, he did it for real? So I'm putting on my work clothes. So I go straight to the hospital. He done shot himself in the head. I feel like if I would have let him in that night, he would have killed all of us.
I agree.
But me,
Absolutely agree.
I stayed at the hospital all week. Me and his other baby mom that used to fight all the time. We became cool. We both up there. It was just, I don't know. I just feel like spirit saved my life that night.
Mm,
Wow.
yeah. Come on, Aubrey.
No, I really didn't have too much to say, but just wow in that circumstance. Your testimony in regards to that is just a lot of things what women go through, like they're fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
Literally.
But I never bash him in front of my daughter. She doesn't know any of this. Like
Oh my goodness.
she loves her dad because he doesn't act that way to her, and he still tries to get with me until this day.
Oh, so he
Like,
survived.
yeah, he survived.
Mm.
He survived.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's
Is that an unspoken thing that you don't talk? Do you talk to him still?
She has her phone, so I let her talk to him. I don't deal with him because when he got out of prison this time, he kept calling me, trying to come to my house and like take me back. I want my family back, which he told his other baby mom the same thing because me and her communicate because of the kids. We try to keep them together when he went to prison.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he was playing games, which I wasn't going to take him back anyway. But. So now I let my daughter, deal with him.
So, what has happened recently? Did that trigger you?
I think that triggers me. There's a lot that triggers me that started from the time I was like 2 years old that I can still
Mm-hmm.
remember. It was just a lot leading up to that point that made me, um, I guess, looking for love in the wrong places, which I grew up in a 2-parent household. It's just my stepdad. When I was 2, I found out he wasn't my biological father. So
Mm.
imagine being 2, finding that out. Because, I mean, a lot of people don't know that my biological father is mixed. So I felt like I wasn't accepted there because I'm darker.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So It was just a lot there. My mom put him on child support. He had a DNA test, and of course, it came back that I was his. But it started from there to me.
I mean, in a sense of because you've had a tragedy with your brother here recently,
Yes.
and it is very reminiscent of
Hmm.
this situation.
And it brought back all of that when that
That's
happened
what I
with
was
my
wondering.
brother. Yeah, it brought back like being in the hospital and being in the neuro ICU. I'm a medical assistant. I work in the medical field, so I'm used to that. But when it's somebody you love,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it brought back all of that. It's a lot of things that trigger women that have been in abusive relationships. I mean, I am confident. I don't have low self-esteem, but there's certain areas in my life that I'm not comfortable with. That's why when I see like certain things, like last night with Rakaya, I saw a lot that I couldn't say on the live.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I know the early signs. I kind of know them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because Aubrey, you didn't experience it per se firsthand, but you experienced it because you've seen it, you watched it, grew up with it.
Right.
So did I. Well, I've experienced it on both ends, so I get it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up with it too. My brothers. I grew up with my brother's father.
Even with that, Deja recognizing with her baby father situation what type of characteristic he didn't that he had when she
Mm.
said he does not even like women. I really feel like that he uses a woman for his aesthetic. A woman for his aesthetic.
Mm. That's interesting.
I
Which
not. I'm sorry, ladies.
oh
My
no
No,
no
apologies.
no
go
no
ahead,
no
Miss
girl.
Sheena.
Hey Sheena
So
girl.
so um, one of the things that my son um was going through in his um spiritual warfare, because that's what we're in. So one of the things he was going through in his spiritual warfare before he transitioned was he was kind of pleading with his younger self because something occurred in his younger life, and I didn't find out about that until he was now on this excursion for his soul. And so when he talked to me about it, you know, um, he was like, "Mom," he said, "that doesn't make me gay." He said, "I was just a little boy. I wanted to play a video game, and somebody decided to attempt to do what they did to me, another boy, a older boy." And so I asked him, I said, "Why you didn't tell me that this happened to you?" And it's different for men.
Well, let me ask you this then. Let's go back into your beginning because that probably really triggered you because of how he was conceived, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
So,
so let's tell because they may not know. Tell us your
okay.
story.
Okay. So, whew, okay. So when I was 3, um, I was molested by, um, one of my mom's boyfriends, at 3. And then at 13, um, I was raped by her best friend's son, who was a grown man. My son was conceived, and uh, his his born day is December the 24th. So, um, throughout my upbringing, I was always angry, and it took a lot. It took a lot for me to become this person that I am today. With of course, therapy and things of that nature. However, yes, I was triggered when he told me that had happened to him. And he, you know, um, so there were quite a few things that led to that led to that instance in his life, being in and off or on and off with a young woman that he was with for almost 9 or 10 years, and one day coming to visit us because they were living with each other more so on this on period with them. And it was in 2020, and they came to visit. We were preparing for football night, to watch football and eat pizza and chicken and things of that nature. And when he came in, he wasn't. It was his vessel, but it wasn't him. Um, I'm, cooking at the stove, and he says, um, and excuse me for the verbiage I'm gonna use, but that was what was said. He said, "Go ahead, bitch, tell my mom what you did." And I looked at him. I said, "First of all, we don't talk to women like that because I'm a woman." And he said, "No, mom, she need to tell you that she's been having unprotected sex with another nigga and then laying with me." And I was like, she said it only happened once. So, I looked at her, I said, all it takes is once, because we're talking about spiritual warfare. A lot of people feel like
Yeah.
the heart is in the chest. No, the heart is the mind. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're not in control of your mind,
Agree.
then your heart is broken.
Yeah.
And that's what people fail to realize. Okay, so um I really didn't understand why he was. It was like, oh man, it was like he was saying so many things in that instance. And as I talked to the young lady, um, initially she kind of thought it was funny a little bit, but I looked at my son. I said, look, this will always be your home. You can always come back home. You don't have to, because at this point, of course, I'm disappointed. Now, keep in mind, this 2 months before my son attempted to jump off of a bridge, but I didn't see that coming either. So, um, there were a lot of things um that initiated his heartbreak.
Okay. So you said you didn't see that coming, which I can completely understand. That was kind of my question. Like, did you pick up on that at all? Or,
No,
like,
not at all. I had no. Um, it's like it's as if it just happened over overnight. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a backstory. So before this, the young lady was going through surrogacy. So she was trying to become a surrogate mother for a gay couple that are of Indonesian descent with money. And so a week after my son's celebration of life, the young lady tells me that they took blood from my son during the course of her going through this to make sure that he didn't have an STD. And I was like, well, they wouldn't have need to take blood from him if you're the surrogate mother. So there were a lot of things that led up to this.
so you
But
think they did something
it's very possible.
spiritual?
It's very possible because the young lady gave birth to a set of twins, a boy and a girl.
Hmm.
And that's why I said it's all spiritual, because the young lady's mother died in July of that same year, 2022, and my son transitioned in October of that year of 22.
Wow.
She gave
Did-
birth to a boy and a girl. Come on now, it's all spiritual.
Mm.
It's all spiritual. Did
Mhm.
your son know how he was conceived?
Yes. Okay. Okay. So I told my son we held that conversation when he was 16. Um I didn't want him to be attracted to girls that were younger than him. Only because, you know, not that I didn't want him to be attracted to girls that was younger than him.
You
I
were fearful that he had some of his father.
right. So because like I said, um all of this is spiritual. All Everything that we endure, go through, experience, it is all spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Mm-hmm.
all spiritual. So um I told him, and he looked at me and he was like, Mom, he says, why would you tell me that? And I told him, I said, because I don't want you to bring a 13 or a 14-year-old home and you are 19, 20 years old and you're thinking it's okay. And because it's not. And that wasn't the case with his father and I at all. But I
Right.
did want him to feel like it was okay to take something that didn't belong.
I guess that's why I'm asking. Excuse me. Even though, and Marshelle said she's 5 minutes away from her house, she was trying to help her get home so she can get up here. Because when I tell you the level of parallel, Miss Sheena, I really want you to be able to see that, right, Aubrey?
Yes, absolutely. And just hearing the details to your story, it's just, I'm amazed every single time I get the opportunity to meet women who've been through so much but are still standing.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
So if I can, I would like to share something with you guys, but I need to know if you can hear it. Just a second, because I'm actually on two separate phones. But I need to know if y'all can hear it, because I would like to kind of like take the time out to introduce y'all to Shakeem. That's his name.
Okay.
His name.
Okay.
And I want to know if y'all can hear this. Hold up just a second. So I want to know if y'all can hear this. So I'm going to try to put it as close as possible. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, this is him.
Everybody love that noise.
So while we're waiting on Marshelle, I would like y'all to. I'm introducing him.
Everybody love that noise. Livers breaking through the void. Everybody listen while I'm making my noise. Boss shopping in the sword and you know it, cause everybody love that noise. This some shit you can't avoid. Everybody listen while I'm making my noise. It's some listen get destroyed. Everybody love that noise. Livers breaking through the void. Everybody listen while I'm making my noise. Boss shopping in the sword and you know it, cause everybody love that noise. This some shit you can't avoid. Everybody listen while I'm making my noise. It's the listen get destroyed. Getting ready for the revolution. Shit sad from my people in the institution. Street fucked up, killing just another solution. Politics another sick community illusion. Just another way to control. So long behold, you stuck in the mold. Clutching every dollar you hold, the poverty hold. System ain't changing the code. Currency the same, all blood down to the gold. How they tax you on every piece of property owned. They can get you for the drugs they producing their own. It's confusing me, that's why I had to make it a song. And they probably come and get me just for taking it from. I ain't tripping to the politicians making the law. And it's crazy how they all fucking breaking them all. Taking the people, making sure that we ain't equal at all. Making examples by the murder with no weapon involved. Everybody love that noise. Lyrics breaking through the void. Everybody listen while I'm making my noise. Boss shopping in the sword and you know it, cause everybody love that noise. This is shit you can't afford. Everybody listen while I'm making my noise. It's the list to get destroyed. It's a blatantly a demonstration. I'm just really trying to figure out what they were demonstrating. Maybe it's an issue that we really overpopulated, and the only way to solve it is to get exterminated. Better get exterminated. We just being fornicated, fuck with. I don't know about you, but I'm like, fuck this. Won't put up too, just be a dumb bitch. The slums ain't had no room for that dumb shit. Didn't make the counterfeit moves when the pumps fit it. Kill a nerd, one of my kind, and get away with it. Lost more people than the station, ain't waiting list. Really ain't got no time for conversation. Country being ran by a bunch of fucking Listen is the reason that everybody be hating shit. Only real reason my people ain't really making it, cause everybody get to the preacher and he play. Everybody love that noise. Lyrics breaking through the floor. Everybody listen while I'm making my noise. Ball something in the sword and you know, cause everybody love that noise. This is shit you can't afford. Everybody listen while I'm making my noise. Instruments have been destroyed. I ain't trying to screw this message. I'm just trying to let you know some facts.
Okay. I shared that because
Gratitude.
Yes, that was really good.
Yeah.
much appreciation, gratitude to you guys for allowing him to even, you know, have a voice of being able to be heard. But one of the things about, who he was, uh, in his in his in what was going on with him. Okay, so um 2 months after they left, he came to the house, and they did leave, but he wound up coming back home with me, and um my son attempted to jump off of a bridge in December of that year. And he had never um displayed issues with hearing voices or suicide, and this is one of the battles that he was going through within. He said, "Mom," he said, "you don't understand. The voices are telling me that if I don't kill myself, they're going to come in here and they're going to kill you and my brother and sister."
That's not the first time I've heard that
Oh wow.
from
And
people.
so, um, I was like, "Son, as his mother, I was like, son, I need you to know something. No one is coming to do anything to us at all, and you don't have to do this to yourself." And so, of course, he at that point in time, he was on medication, so I'm taking him to and from his therapist, and of course they don't look like us, or she doesn't look like us. And the more that I take him, the more she wants to put him on, she wants to up his medications, and he's like, you already have me on 600 milligrams. Mm.
Well, I wanna ask you this. Do you think, besides the blood that was taken and that kind of spiritual thing, and you know what I mean, like she may have been doing some sort of work on him as well, but I have two questions for you. What was his response? Did you tell him, like, when did he learn of his conception? Because what I'm wondering is there some sort of trauma that comes, like if you eat a cow that was, that was murdered, and you're consuming that energy,
Right.
do you think that there's also some sort of level of trauma that comes with the a conception that's by sexual assault?
Yes. So, um, in that, um, in that, he he was angry. Um, and of course, on his father's side, there are other children, and I, you know, I know it takes a village, and I would let him go and spend the weekend with his other siblings. And so, um and he has a wonderful stepmother, uh who was mother number two to him. Um and wonderful sibling. Like he's one of nine, I believe, and on his father's side, he's one of three from me. So um, I do think it may have played a role in some of his maybe his once he was going through or undergoing the psychological warfare. um it's 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 I believe that you know that there were a lot of things that were working against him. As a matter of fact, um because he was also he smoked weed as well. So um I will often think, okay, fine, well, you need to stop smoking weed because I don't think that's helping you any. So but yes, I
I
really think.
do believe it causes depression, though. I've experienced it, smoking. Sometimes I do feel like it causes depression.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the medication that they have you on, because when I was suicidal, when my grandmother passed, the medications that they had me on, it was like I wasn't myself. And it made me want to go with her. And there was something in my head telling me I need to go be with her because I can't be here without my grandmother.
Mm.
So the medication, it likes, I don't know, it lowers your rational thinking. So
Hmm.
other things can come in and speak
Right.
to you. There's just something about that medication. I
It
can't
lowers your
explain it.
frequency,
Yeah, it
and
does.
you're vibrating at a very low frequency where you're quote unquote in the hell.
I was so low. I was so low. I was drinking every day. I woke up drinking. I went to bed drinking. And one
Mm.
day, I was searching on YouTube. This was my grandmother passed August the 4th, 2008. So I think this was like in November, maybe December. I was on YouTube and I saw this lady in her kitchen or den or wherever you was at. And I just started watching. And from then on, I didn't like get better, but that's why I say Cotita saved my life.
Mhm.
I was at that point, I was ready. But I feel like finding her, doing those readings, I don't know, something just triggered me because I've always been different from a child. I've always heard voices, I've always saw things, I've always heard things that I don't know how, but like seeing her doing it, it registered with me. So I stopped taking that medication. There's something about that medication that they give you that makes you want to go ahead and do what your plan is.
Right.
Mm. Okay, so well, that would explain it. Um, a lot of um, so he did go to certain. He went to a psychological group home, um, for lack of a better term. And he was there for about days. And so when he came home, um, I knew when he was in his vessel and when he wasn't. A lot of our conversations took place in the kitchen. Um,
That's interesting.
um,
What
because
made you think he wasn't in his vessel?
one day I was cooking and he came and he sat in the kitchen with me and he was talking and he asked me, he said, "Mom," he never blinked. He said, "Mom," he said, what would you do if you had to fight me for your life? And I looked at him and I said, you know, you wouldn't make it, right?
Girl, that's deep.
And he said, huh? I said, yeah, you wouldn't make it. And so the the entity that was present in his vessel at that time got up and went and sat in the front room. And so when my son came back into the kitchen, he kissed my forehead and he was like, Mom, you got it smelling good in here, as if that conversation had not even happened.
Like he had just got there.
Right, right, right,
Somebody had literally deliberately moved him to say what they needed to say to see if you were afraid of them.
right.
Mm.
And so um there were, that wasn't the only time that
So do you think that the person that tried to jump off the bridge wasn't your son?
no, I think that I think that my son had left that night. I, I firmly believe that my son left off of that bridge that night, and the person came back.
Mm.
Right. Um, and I say that because in 2020, um, in 2000, in 2020, the person that I am now, I wasn't this in 2020. So I wouldn't have been able to, um, I don't think, you know, um, because certain things were actually unlocking for me spiritually as well.
So his vessel returned from the bridge jump.
Right, right. Even though okay, so, and I'm saying this because he never, from my understanding, he didn't get a chance to jump off of the bridge, from my understanding,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because they were able to talk him down. But because I wasn't ready, that's why I say it's all spiritual. Because and this might sound a little bit on edge for certain people, but when you know what you know, you just know. Um,
Okay. Well, let's fast forward a little bit because I want to understand.
mhm,
So your son, his vessel returned from the attempted jump,
mhm,
but and that was in 2020. But he ultimately ended up taking his life in 2022.
right.
What happened that led him to that?
Um, so I thought everything was okay. Um, he was taking his medications. He was doing everything like his normal self. Like he was, you know, he had took the kids to the basketball court. He went and picked his children up, and you know, did things according to what he would ordinarily do. And um, at okay, so this particular day they went to the basketball court. He went and picked his kids up, and they all were together. And he when they got home, like they was, because we're all fair skinned, so when they got home they were gray, so because sweat, and they were dirty. And it was like, they told my daughter, you go ahead on and take your shower first. And my oldest son sat in the kitchen and he was talking to me while she was in the shower. And so I'm cooking. That night I made rasta pasta for dinner. And it was a normal conversation, and I didn't get a feeling that uh you know the other entity was there at that point. Because it seemed like it was just a regular day to me. Because it was. Well, um, about, I want to say 4:40, 4:50 in the morning. My nephew, who was 9 at the time, um, he came upstairs and he knocked on the doors. And I said, "Who is it?" He said, "It's me, Auntie." I said, "Come in." And he came in. He said, "Auntie," he said, "I think Juicy hung himself." I said, "Huh?" He said, "He's downstairs." So I made him stay upstairs, and I went downstairs, and it was right by the stairway, coming up the stairs, and um, my baby was not. His vessel was just there, and I couldn't get him down.
Oh my goodness.
Um,
Mm.
and I, you know, walked to the other side of him, and I saw that his head was not connected to his neck.
Oh.
Um, and um, so I'm,
Take
not
your time.
not in a panic, and it was a bucket. It was like a mop bucket, with water in it that I had told him to dump earlier. And I was nowhere near the mop bucket, but something pushed the bucket where the water fell over.
Mm.
So I walked upstairs and grabbed my phone, and and I called the police, and it's like the same way that I am talking to you guys. It's the very same way. I let them know what I was, you know, what I was faced with at that point in time. And um she asked me, the dispatcher, she asked me, she said, can you get him down? And I said no. And she says, I knew he was not there in that moment, present. Um, she said, could is he in a position where you could try to administer CPR? No.
Mm.
Um, I'm out on. Okay, so the only thing that I can say in that moment is that life was still moving, but it was in slow motion for me.
I can imagine. I can
Um,
imagine.
Certain things. Okay, um, so just to kind of like fast forward it to the now. So today, um, I watched your show, A Walk with the Ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
The September 2022 episode, and so many things were validated in my life at that point in time.
Mm.
Um, Keep in
Wow.
mind, in the same year, in January of that year, my mother's sister, my aunt, she had transitioned um, from a fight with cancer. And 5 days later, her son, her baby son, had transitioned, and nobody knew how her son transitioned. There was no um there was no autopsy done. There was really no investigation. So nobody knew how he just left. And they say it happened in threes.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't prepared.
Let me ask you this, and um I'm gonna go deep here because you're telling your story, and I want to understand. I want to be like, I want to sit there with you.
Mhm.
What was your thought when you came down the stairs and you saw your baby?
I said to myself,
Take your time. Take your time. That's a lot to gather.
you won't finish.
Mm,
Excuse me.
you okay? I got my tissue too.
Um, I told him he won't. I was like, son, you not finished.
Mm.
So, um, keep in mind, so he wouldn't let me sit and cry. He wouldn't let me sit still. Um, um, you know, because it was as if is like literally it was as if I knew what I was looking at, but he was still doing normal things in the house. He was still doing normal things. Um, um, it took about oh man, it took about maybe they didn't remove his vessel out of the house until quarter to 10, and it was so many it was so many things that was just going on.
Were you outside of your body?
No, as much as I wanted to be. Um, it was I don't feel like I was outside of my body. Um, but I did say that he wasn't finished.
Mm-hmm.
He had so much to do. Um,
Deep.
Yeah, it is deep.
um, that's why that's one of the reasons why I say um so many so many spiritual things started happening around me almost immediately. Um, I would hear him say, "Mom, I'm right here," and I would look over, he would be right there, but other people couldn't see him.
Mm. Mm.
Um, it was so many things. It was
I know you said your life had changed, that the person you are right now is not the person who you were in 2020.
right.
Is that stemming from the trauma that you had experienced? Like, how
It
did they show up? Because I'm getting ready to call Marshelle because it's not allowing her to come on the StreamYard, so I have to call her and let her do her part from the phone. But
Mhm.
because we're going to also talk about that, like
Yes.
going back to you, um, and what you experienced, even like you were sexually assaulted. So I want to go back to that, because is that the reason you say that you were not the same person that you are now? And is that because of the spiritual growth? You know what I mean? Like, because it almost seems like, Sheena, the way you're saying it, which is so powerful to me, it seems like everything spiritual start to happen around you, and as you are progressing, coming out of that person, whoever she may have been, your son was going in the opposite direction on a different spiritual journey. As you were coming into life, he was going out.
okay. So um, the the person that I was in 2020, oh, she would take off in 0.221 second. I mean, she was just so different. Um, I knew I knew how to I knew how to escape things without um how can I put this? So I knew what kind of conversations I didn't want to be present for. So I went and make myself present for those conversations, and um oftentimes it had to do with um you know my past, so of course with sexual trauma, um I became a tomboy. um Along with being a tomboy, I did, certain street things, you know what I'm saying. Um and I found myself slowing down certain, I wouldn't, um um how can I put this? So about 2014, 2015, I started navigating in life differently. So I slowed down in my, in how I used to do things a lot. And then I found myself in a relationship uh, with someone who, you know, was definitely a testament to my growth. Because with certain things that I, you know, certain red flags that was displayed within that individual that I didn't pay any attention to. However, um, it's also uh, lead something that led to me growing as well. Um, in that 2020 um, era, I had started finding so many things out. Initially, my father's family is from Louisiana, so I started finding things out about me on the spiritual level that uh, that helped me get to this point. Um, I started or revealing that you put an altar up in your house and cleanse your space, and you were able to figure certain things out. I noticed my one of my grandmothers who's no longer here, hadn't been here since I was about 11 or 12. Her fragrance started lingering around me in 2020. I didn't understand that. Um, it was so many things that was taking place. So I could see things from this side of the room now that I couldn't see at first. I could see things from this side of the room that I couldn't see at first. And so in 2020, and then uh life and um and it's 2021, and my spiritual awareness is heightened a lot more, but I'm still seeing a decline in my son. One day, my ex came and got me from upstairs. I was resting, and he said, "Come downstairs. I need you to see your son." So I came downstairs, and um, my son was trying to get up off of the couch, uh, but it looked like he looked like a zombie. The only thing that was moving was his eyes, and they were going right to left. And he was trying to go to the restroom. And I stood there and I was calling his name, and it was like nothing.
Understood. Understood. What
So,
what we need to do really quickly is we need to take a break because I do have sponsors that I have to run their ads. And then we have Marshelle here now on the phone. And I
Greetings,
definitely
Marshelle.
hi, Miss Marshall.
Hey, greetings, y'all.
can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Hey,
Okay.
girl.
I want to be able to speak to her as well. So I need to run these ads really quickly, and then we'll come back. We're going to talk to Marshelle, and then I want to get into something that Miss Sheena said about like trauma from the inside. And I feel like what I'm hearing is the programming, and not just body hopping, but programming us to our own death is what it seems like to me. So we're going to take our quick break, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna introduce Miss Marshelle Lee. And we will be right back, y'all.
My name is Sean Edwards, and I'm the business owner of Harvest Painting Impressions, and I provide interior and exterior painting and deck staining services to all residential and commercial clients. At Harvest Painting Impressions, I embody the perspective that every home or property has a look and quality of its own, and my primary goal with you as a valued customer is to accentuate the look of your home by adding life to it through the art of applying color. With Painting Impressions as a customer, you will have the option to acquire a variety of service options, promotions, senior discounts, material and labor warranties included with any project. In addition to that, I value the opportunity to provide you with a free and comprehensive service plan that is simple and specifically designed to promote quality performance and, most importantly, your satisfaction. For your free estimate, you can contact me at area code 815-590-6489.
Greetings. I am Quatita Dean, and I'm here with Miss Aubrey Marie, the host of Diversity.
Hey, y'all.
And this is her behind the curtain. This is Diversity Uncut. We have brought some of the ladies that had appeared on Miss Aubrey Marie's show twice, for 2 different times, right?
2 different times.
Yes. And we found them very interesting. And so last night I was like, we need to talk to these ladies.
Yes.
So, all right, Aubrey, we got Marshelle here. And she's
Girl,
nervous.
hey. She's nervous.
Yeah, she's
Hey,
nervous.
Sleepy.
Girl, we here. We just talking. It's just us, girl.
So, Marshelle, and you've talked before about your trauma, but I would like to kind of give you the floor and opportunity to kind of speak on your trauma, because again, your trauma mimics and parallels somewhat of Miss Sheena's trauma. So let's go back to when you were 12, and I'm gonna mute myself. Oh, I can't mute myself because they can't hear you.
Right. So you want me to start all the way from the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. So it happened around when I was 12. I was leaving out the apartment complex that we stayed right across the street from. I was leaving out my uncle's girlfriend at the time. And so as I'm leaving out, coming down the sidewalk, just, minding my own business, I see a guy come out this other young lady apartment that I know who stayed a couple of doors down. And I knew of his face, but I didn't know him like that. I just knew he knew, my brother and my cousin or whatever. So didn't exchange words, didn't speak, didn't do nothing, just ran on back to the house. Went home, locked the screen door, locked the door, went in the house. And next thing you know, there was a knock at the door. It was him. So he had asked me for like my brother or my cousin, one of the two. And I remember telling him like he was asleep or he had just left or something like that. So then he asked me for a glass of water. And so I closed the door back, locked the door, went and got him some water, came back to the door, gave him the water. He drank the water, gave him the glass back. And he had asked me about riding with him, just to ride somewhere with him. And I didn't think nothing of it. At 12, I'm knowing that he know, my brother and my cousin. So where I'm from, everybody know everybody. So, like I said, I didn't think nothing of it. And so we went to another apartment complex. I never got out the vehicle. But then he got back in, and that's when I told him, had asked me about taking me back home. And he was like, well, I got one more stop to make. He said, and then I'll take you. I said, okay. Went to this other location, this other house, where we pulled up. It was quite a few men in the backyard, which every last one of them I either knew by a nickname or knew they first and last name, because once again, everybody know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me that, he said, well, come on, you can come in and you can sit right here while I do what I got to do. So I'm like, okay, once again, not thinking nothing of it. And they say, he came back in and he slid a dresser behind the door. And basically, the only way I was going to leave out of there was either, I was going to have sex with it. And so at the time, I'm nervous, I'm scared, not knowing what to do. So I'm just like, okay. And then I was like, you got one of those, because at 12 I couldn't even say the word condom,
Mm-hmm.
So he lied and told me yes. So, that happened, and I'm thinking now I'm going to be able to get my stuff and I'm going to go now, because like I said, from the beginning, this was never the plan, was never my intention, was never none of that. So as I'm thinking I'm figuring go, he took my shorts and he took my underwear and he walked out the room with them. So he left me sitting in there with just a shirt on with no bottoms. Then another young guy came up to the door. Like I said, knew him, called his nickname after him because it was his mom's house. And asked him for my shorts and stuff. And he told me, he said, dang, he said, I should have been the first one. And I'm like, damn, what? And so then he left out. And then by this time, now my mind racing, I'm just thinking. And another guy came in. So I called him out by his nickname, which I knew his nickname and his first and last name. And so he was trying to mess with me, but I told him, I said, no, let me go home and take a bath and stuff. I'll come back. And he was like, you for real, man? You gonna come back? I said, yeah, I'm gonna come back. I said, I just need my shorts and stuff. He said, all right. I'm like, so I can go home. And he was like, dude, go. And I'm like, what?
Were you nervous? Like, did you feel like you were in danger of all of them other guys doing something to you?
Yeah, I was real nervous. Because at this point, being that you know them, now you don't know what they gonna do. Especially if you have one to come in there and say they should have been the first one versus saying, hey man, what's going on?
Like, are you all right?
Yeah. Yep. So I said I did what I did because I thought that was the right thing. I ain't gonna say the right thing, but what I had.
Did you feel like your life was like in jeopardy because of it? Like you can't even get out of the room. There's a dresser there.
Exactly. Yeah. So at this point, like you don't know, like you really don't know what's gonna go on. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know because I got tricked to come up here. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, it was never supposed to be none of that. Like just ride somewhere with me and I'm gonna bring you back home. That was it. Honestly, that was it. So when you got somebody to put the dress up against the door at the age of 12, like you can't even say the word condom. You nervous and scared as fuck. And then especially when they take your bottoms, you know what I'm saying? And to where you can't leave out the room. And then you got two other people approaching, coming to the door and stuff, like.
And at 12, you kind of unsure of your body and, don't want people to look at you. And, it's a very awkward thing. So how did you get what happened? How did you leave?
The second guy that came in there, when I told him, I convinced him that I was going to take a bath and come back. And so I told him I needed to ride home. And he said, man, you promise you're going to come back? I said, yeah, I'm going to come back. So we leaving, like, from the house where I was at, so from where I stayed, it might have been maybe 3 or 4 blocks, So we was going, and by the time we got to this area where we call the top of the hill, I see 2 of my uncles walking. So remind you, like, the house next door, another young lady my uncle knew, mom stayed there. So she was there. So I didn't know that she seen me when I first pulled up to the house. So she went to trying to call them and get them on the phone. So that's how I ended up meeting them at the top of the hill because they was walking to where I was at. And
so did you get your bottoms?
Yes, I got my bottoms. The guy gave me my bottoms. They gave me a ride. He gave me my bottoms. So that's why we went home to take a bath and come back. Because he thought,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, I was happy that I seen my uncle there. So I'm like, ooh, a relief. Like, I felt safe at that point. But shit, that ended quickly.
Why do you say that?
Because soon as they seen me, they automatically went to fussing at me. I was automatically fast and hot. What you doing? You little fast hot. I said, what you doing? Like, wait, hold on. I can't even get out. What happened to me?
But not, are you okay? What you doing around here? Is everything okay? Like,
no, none of that.
Okay. So
I was
then,
automatically blamed.
right.
Like it was my fault. And
Because you already had trauma anyway, kind of going on,
mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
in this situation happened. So that's additional trauma. So now, fast forward, what happened?
So now my mom had told me she noticed that I wasn't using the tampons, the pads,
The
and everything.
Kotex.
So the coat, and so she told me to. I remember she said, "Well, pee in this jar," because she said she had to take a drug test or something. She was like, "Pee in this jar, and then just put it in, and, put the lid on it, and put it in the refrigerator." I'm like, "Oh, okay." She said, "Put it at the bottom of some shit." So I'm like, "Okay." So next thing you know, we're going to this building. Never been to the building before, so I don't fucking know what building we're going to. But come to find out, we was going to the clinic. And then that's when they did a pregnancy test and told me they looked at my mom and told my mama I was pregnant.
Wow.
Wow.
What was your thoughts? Because that's a lot. You're 12 years old. You done been sexually assaulted. You know, now you not only then found out you're pregnant, your mom finds out at the same time. So what's going through your mind?
Shit, I was shocked. I had asked the woman, I remember this shit big as day. Like, I asked the woman to retest it, like, because they couldn't be right. Because remind me, this guy told me he had a condom on.
Mm. And so everybody just kind of thought you were fast. Nobody asked you if you were okay. Like what happened?
My mom didn't find out what happened to me until I was like 32. That was 20 years.
And so then,
Nobody asked me what happened. Hey, look, sit down. Let me talk to you for a second. How did you come about getting there? How did we come about you? You know, nobody never asked me what happened. And even when I told my uncle, the same one who was the first one to jump down my throat, he couldn't do nothing but start crying. And he apologized to me. He said, "Niece, I didn't know."
but that's why we have to take our time with our girls and really, talk to them and find stuff out. So now at this point, you know what I'm saying? You are pregnant and um
I'm in the 7th grade.
you did keep the baby. So
I did keep the baby.
tell us about that a little bit.
That was a struggle. So I did keep the baby. So I was teased in middle school. Um, I was just looked at very different because, I'm in my class, the only one in my class, is you pregnant? And and what else? Oh, I had a teacher that knew my dad. Her and another guy knew my dad. So she told me, I'm in the 9th grade at this point, but she told me, me and so and so got a bet. They bet that you ain't gonna graduate, and I told them you were gonna graduate. So I need you to, like, you know what I'm saying, do what you gotta do it so we can prove them wrong. And I'm like, wait, what? A bet?
Right.
What?
Betting on your longevity of success as a person. That's crazy.
Yeah. And for her to think that it's okay to tell me that.
And so you had the baby and you had a son.
I had a son. Mm-hmm.
Much like Miss Sheena, you had a son, and so he's what you said he's 26 now.
Yes, he just turned 26 in April.
Yes. So you're pregnant, you're going through it, and now you have the baby. What is it like?
Having a baby at that age?
Yes.
Because I was 13 when I had it. Shit, it was just different. I didn't have no childhood. I remember when Christmas came around, I'm thinking I got a gift up under the tree and shit, and I never forget. My angel was like, "Oh no, you don't get no gift. Your gift go to the baby now." What?
So did you feel like you were being punished in some sort of way though?
You know what? I can't even tell you how to like. I just felt fucked up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and at that point, I'm just like, well, shit, they're gonna stop in my life.
Mm. So you was kind of like you were kind of thrust into something that you didn't really, ask for, and nobody was there to even like.
I didn't have a clue about nothing. Um, a lot of stuff that I learned just by watching other people having common sense, and then some of the young ladies that I hung out with were older than me, but they always treated me like a little sister. Like you weren't like they made sure they treated me like I was my age. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
So
So
like
I was
like
still hung out with them.
like me, Marshelle, I had a baby at 16 and I was in my grandma's home, and it wasn't the best, but it was all right. It was good. It was for what it was. I had some help, but your story is different. And we don't have to go too deep into it, but you had to kind of move around with your baby too.
Yeah, I did. I because of some of the shit that was going on at home, so I had to go over to. So I got sent over to my aunt's house. My baby had to be. I don't even think he was 3 months old. Like he was a newborn. And remind you, I had a C-section at 13. So, but then she told me I couldn't stay there, but to call my uncle and his girlfriend to see if I could stay over there with them. So I was like, damn.
As we going into it, I'm gonna make this statement though, because I'm watching the chat and I see that Miss Aries said that she was 14. I was 16. Sheena was 13. You were 12. But the thing of it is, the way we were ostracized and made to feel like shit, when in reality, some of our grandmothers were 15 and pregnant and married to 25, 30-year-old men. And that's the reality of that. You know what I mean? But we were made to feel like shit.
Mm-hmm.
What you say, Aubrey? Oh, I thought Aubrey was saying something too, but that's the way that goes. Okay, so I want to kind of like fast forward because you had many issues around. You said 15 or 16. That's when the DNA test came. That's when.
Um, I was 18 when the DNA test came.
Okay.
15 and he was 5. So he denied him for the first. He denied him for 5 years. Um, I know I had called him and asked him to get my son a haircut for the first time, asking him anything. And this was before the DNA test, I want to say. And then he was like, "How you been getting it cut?" So I said, "Okay." Never fixed my mouth to asking shit else.
Understood. And again, Aubrey, let me bring Aubrey back up here. She's kind of having some difficulties, y'all, with her internet. My first pregnancy, let me be clear. My first pregnancy, I was 12, but I had a miscarriage. I was in junior high, but I actually gave birth to my daughter when I was 17. I got pregnant at 16, had her at 17. Now, so the DNA test happened. He acted a fool, didn't want to do shit. I want to move forward because it's a lot of your story that kind of, what I'm saying, mimics or parallels Sheena's, and I want to kind of get into it right now. And I hate if I can say it, you and your son, like, because you've had other children, but you and this particular son, there's like trauma there, and there's like separation of not getting along, and you didn't have the luxury of telling him his conception story.
No, I didn't. My mom told him because I guess he had said something to my mom about a conversation him and the guy had. And it made my mom upset, and then she just told him, and and I thought that was real fucked up.
Yeah, it was the words that she used because this wasn't too long ago, though, right?
No, well, it was when. No, it was in my early 30s when she found out. Around the time when she found out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just
you're only 39.
Yeah, yeah. So just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She actually told him what?
He was a rape baby.
He was a rape baby. Do you feel like that affected? Sorry, this is my chair, y'all. Do you feel like that affected your relationship with him or how he thought about himself?
I feel like it affected how he felt about himself. Because I remember telling her that she shouldn't have told him that because you don't know what state of mind you probably threw him in. Because the guy already wanted his life.
Right. But you've always shown him love.
Always, yeah. And so he said, all thing he said was, he feel like it was some type of reason why he did for all his other kids and never did for him.
Yeah. So your son that you had pregnant with, he's 26, so he is still living. Unfortunately, of course, Miss Sheena was telling us her story of her son. He claimed his own life. But reason why I keep saying it mimics because you did lose a son, but it was not that son.
Right.
You lost your baby who was 10 months.
My baby, yeah. And 10 months old. Right before he got ready to turn 1, he passed August the 8th. His birthday was September the 18th.
Wow, that's the day my grandmother passed.
Wow, Cosmic Jenny.
Yeah.
So it's still that kind of trauma there.
Yeah. And so that was something that, I held on to for quite some time. Because it's going on 6 years now, so.
He was your last baby.
He was. He was. My last of the Mohicans, I used to tell him.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Aubrey.
No, I was saying just in regards to that situation, how deep that was. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I was just saying, I'm just listening to what's going on in regards to everything, like her
You want
story.
to ask some questions, Phil?
You said what?
You gonna ask some questions?
Well, I didn't heard this story from her. She had a long time, but she told me before.
No, I know. I just didn't know if you know what I'm saying, because we hosting together.
Let me see here. Let me think.
Well, let me ask you, because initially we were saying how Marshelle and Sheena's story was kind of parallel.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your thought, even just listening? Because Sheena says she feels like a lot of this was spiritual warfare fought against her and her son.
I can definitely see it that way. Her explanation in regards to just the whole situation was, it just kind of showed up out of nowhere, as she indicated. But I think that the biggest thing that she understood was that she was able to see that that was no longer her child.
Yes.
When that entity showed up. And I think that a lot of people ignore the signs when they see that there is a disconnect between their children. Like, I always felt that the beautiful statement of parents is when they tell people that try to lie on their children, I know my children.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important thing is the mother, the portal that the baby has come out of. Of course, you know your child from beginning to end. You learn them, you understand them. Moms that are very into the connection with their children. So when she said that he was out of his body, she knew that he was not there. And when
Right.
that question was posed, it really would kind of bring that valid thought of, okay, shit, I'm not tripping here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Why would he even say that to me? And then not even 10 minutes later, him coming back and it's like nothing had ever happened. But that also literally validates everything that you've indicated on when you've, talked to people on the other side and they let you know exactly how this is, how that situation goes. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that it just not only validates her experience, but it validates a lot of the things that Soul and Spirit has already indicated that it's been happening at a severe rate.
Right. So, okay.
I, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to ask you, Marshelle, like, so spiritually hearing Sheena say that and seeing how your son has been showing up to you recently.
Mhm. Yeah, no, and that's exactly what I was just going to touch on. I was going to say I've been feeling like that too. That it's a spiritual warfare thing going on. Because that shit, at one point, and we said some stuff to where I just feel um, like you just gonna really have to face, sit down, man up, and genuinely apologize, and you know,
And
Sheena, I think you want mute, boo.
Oh,
it's
there's,
because
we
hello.
just couldn't hear her. Go say it again, Sheena.
Okay, so Miss Marshall, so one of the things that I kind of want you to be aware of is that with your oldest son and your younger children, um because that was one of my son's experiences, so he don't understand that when he got you, you was a child. And so now you have other children under him, and it's kind of like a resentment because he doesn't realize that you had to grow up with him.
mm-hmm,
And
Yeah.
your younger children, they got a more stable you.
And seasoned.
Right. And so that's the difference.
Mm-hmm. I can
Um,
agree with that.
because my oldest son, he would tell so he used to say this. And I have to smile at it because one day I told him to take the trash out. And he looked at me, he said, Mom, he said, now it's three of them. It's two boys, or two males, and then it's one girl. The girl is the baby. He said, Mom,
Hmm.
he said, okay, so you asked me to take the trash out. And I say, yes, sir, master. But you tell my brother to take the trash out, and he say, I'll do it and walk off. And then you tell the baby girl to take the trash out, and it never gets taken out. And I looked at him, I said, son, just take the damn trash out. But I'm saying that to say this. Um, when he was the other entity,
Mm-hmm.
um, he would say things like, you loved your younger children more than you love me.
Mm.
And I would tell him, no, I love all of y'all equally. I just got
Had a
you.
different version.
You were, I was a baby. I was a baby. I didn't know half of then what I know now.
Mm-hmm.
In his mind, because he's the child, he did get spankings, you know, and with my other two children, they didn't get spankings. Don't
Right.
say you didn't get
Well,
spanked.
let's talk about the parallel here
So
because um Marshelle, you weren't able to come on yet, and so you didn't hear that Miss Sheena said that her son also has some. You kind of he had sexual trauma. Sheena, is that what you were saying? That
Yes,
Mhm.
he
yes.
too was like molested.
Right, right. And so he that didn't come out until he went through the was going through the psychosis.
Mm.
And he told me, he said, he had went to a friend's house. He was visiting my mom's house. Um and he went to one of their neighbors' houses to play the video games because my brothers weren't home. And they all kind of grew up together. um my son and my baby brother, they were 2 years apart. They are 2 years apart, with my baby brother being older. But he said they hadn't made it home yet. And he had went over there to play a video game. And he said at the time he was 10 or 11. And the young man told him he had to do something to play the video game. And you know, he snapped out of it as he was telling the story. He snapped out of it and he said, "But mom, that doesn't make me gay." I said, "No, son, that doesn't." I said, why did you wait so long to say anything? And he said to me, he said, "Because it happened to you."
Mm. Heard you,
Oh,
understood. Would you say it again, Marshall?
I was like, oh wow,
Yeah,
like it's deep.
and it. So I also saw the parallel that Marshall in total has four children. She had three boys and the one girl, and the
Mhm.
first was the assault, and then of course still in love because she loves her son and he's so handsome. And then of course baby Amir, who then passed, but that then leaves Amber now as the baby. And so, and then she has, of course, her other son that's in the middle there.
17 year old.
Yeah, a 17-year-old. And so, there's just always so much trauma. And I feel like with everybody on this panel right now, even with Marshelle, because she was supposed to be up here, but she's on the phone. We've all like suffered through and came through so much trauma. And the way that Machina was putting it, like even with the spiritual attacks, and again, like some of the things that you had dealt with your son, Marshall, and the things like you said he said is like that
Mhm.
can't be my son.
Mhm.
They're saying these things. So is that somewhat how you feel, Marshall?
Mhm. It is. I spoke to you on several times, just telling you how like I used to always be like, man, this can't be the life meant for me. Like I didn't, I
Yeah.
guess because I feel like I don't do nothing to nobody. I mind my business. I help when I can help, or even over exceed that. And sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's just like I keep looking around like, damn, what the hell?
Right.
Like,
Understood. Even with, I want to go back to Jenny too, because Jenny experienced her own trauma and abuse as well.
Right.
So Jenny, you said even from the time you were like 2 or 3 years old, what is the trauma that you experienced in some way that allowed you to be in the first abusive relationship?
Well, like I said, my mother's first husband, which is my brother, he's younger than me. That's his father. My mom only had two biological kids. So when I was two, I found out that that wasn't my biological father.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they told me, who my biological father was, and he wanted visitations because he was paying child support. So I had to go there on the weekends. I never felt like I fit in because, you know, mixed kids look mixed. I don't look mixed. Um, my cousins would pick on me. They would pull my hair. My hair was the only thing that they considered good, but I was dark skinned. They would call my knees black. We were playing, they would push me down. So I feel like it started from there. And then when I had my first child, I had a favorite uncle. He was my favorite. And I still love him to this day. And nobody in my family knows this. I've told nobody this but one person. So I got my first apartment. It was a 1 bedroom, me and my oldest. One night around 11, we were in bed and these bright lights were shining in my bedroom window. And I was like, who is this? So he knocked on the door and he was like, this is Uncle so and so. So, this is my favorite uncle. And mind you, I grew up with my grandmother. My grandmother raised me. So me and my uncles like grew up together. So he came in, he sat on the couch. He sat in a chair and I was like, what's up? Where you coming from? Just making conversation. So when I walked by, he rubbed my leg. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he was like, I've been wanting this for a long time. I said, this what?
Oh my.
So my favorite uncle tried to molest me. I fought him off. I put him out of my house. I never told anybody. He apologized to me, and I don't know. I never spoke about it.
I've experienced it. I understand. And sometimes to me, Jenny, when they apologize, they are apologizing so you don't tell.
So I wouldn't tell. Yes, and after that, I had this boyfriend, and I let him come over one night, and he sexually assaulted me. He was like, back then I like, kind of bigger guys. He was so big. It was like he was just holding me down and I was crying. But I ended up being in a relationship with him.
When you said you kind of mentioned it to me the other day, and I said I've been there before, because when I was in Florida and I had got into that super abusive relationship, like the second night he came to my house, he raped me in front of my daughter, and he just wouldn't leave. He kept saying, I love you. That's why I did it. I love you.
Yeah,
You're my wife.
exactly.
And my fucked up brain at 19 was like, okay, like I was afraid, but then my daughter, who I've always known had a gift child, she told me, Jenny, she said, and Toddy was like 4, and she said, is that your man? Your husband? Is he your husband? And I said, I don't know. Why would you say that? Because I was cooking dinner for him. And this was the night it happened. I was cooking dinner. That's why he was coming over for the date. And she said, I saw him teeth in my dream. And I took it as like, oh, like, and so then hearing my grandmother and all of them tell stories about how it was normal to be raped in relationships. And, I watched my mom be so heavily abused.
That's so
Yeah.
sad to hear.
Still be submissive. Say it again, Aubrey.
It's so sad to hear. Like, it's just, that's like on a different type of level, type of situation. To be molested through your relationship or just through the part, like.
But I was so Aubrey, I was so used to it. I had been like molested at different times throughout my growing up. You know what I mean? And so I felt like I was just like, well, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And at a period in time when I got older, in my, like, I'm going to say my 30s, my early 30s, I began to allow myself to pick up weight. And I got super big because I didn't think of it at the time, but it was a reflection that I said I was tired of being people's sexual objects. And I didn't, you know, I just like I understood that's what happened. You know, I was tired of that and
Mhm.
tired of being abused. And
Yeah.
so even hearing like Sheena and Marshelle and you know even myself at 12,
Mhm.
like I was pregnant at 12 again. Like I said, my boyfriend was 18, and it wasn't a sexual assault, but it was very traumatic because it was very painful, and I wanted him to be with me. And my grandmother, who was sick in the other room, heard it. She got up and literally kicked the door in with her 38. And he ran out the house with his pants down around one leg and he ran up the street. He had to come back and get his car. Like it was traumatic. I was crying. You know what I'm saying? It was really fucking weird. And then when I was pregnant, I didn't even know I was pregnant. They had to keep testing me. And then when I did, which I believe was a miscarriage, I never went to the doctor. I just kept
What?
going. I just kept going.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
We go through so much as women. It's just, and then for all of us to be up here like speaking on it,
Right.
um, I can't say it's in a healthy way, but it's healthy to
Mhm.
talk about it.
I
Yeah.
think a circle where the energy is to where you a safe space to where you can be able to kind of talk about it is where you feel like nothing of what you're saying is wrong because there's no judgment here.
I
It's
feel
Yeah.
like
all
it's been
real.
normalized.
Yeah, it's real experiences that people hide behind for generations.
Yeah.
But one of the realities in every household that is similar is that there's trauma,
Hmm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
regardless if it's a two-parent household, regardless if it's a single parent household, that if that single parent is a man or a woman.
Hmm.
Sometimes,
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about that just a little bit. Let's touch on that because
Hmm.
um Jenny said she came from a two parent. Sheena, did you come from two parent?
um, so no, but the man that raised me was a very decent, like he was a good man when he was a good man, but he was abusive too. So
Mm-hmm.
a
That's kind of tearing, isn't it? It tears you. It's in a place of where we get confused. Now, Marshall, you were kind of in a two parent to almost to say because even though you live with your mom, your dad was very active in your life,
Hmm.
and so he didn't even know what had happened to you.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, no, he didn't know the stuff that I was going through and had to deal with. He didn't know.
Because you were a daddy's girl, do you feel like that he was disappointed when he found out you were pregnant?
Yes, he was. Because he had went and made an appointment for me to have an abortion and everything.
Mm.
Mm.
So he had already had set up. All I know, I just seen brochures and now I'm still trying to like, I guess, grasp the hold of everything. Like everything moving so fast. I'm like, wait,
Mm-hmm.
hold on, what? No. What is this? Oh my God, they do what? Think I'm out. But
Right. Right.
so someone let me go through with it. So
Same.
Hmm.
I kept it.
Yeah, same. I came up in a two-parent household, so to speak. He wasn't my father. He was actually the reason he kept my father away from me. Um, what is it, Aubrey? What'd you say, Aubrey?
I didn't say nothing.
Oh,
You
okay.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, I didn't say anything. I'm
Uh,
listening to you.
oh, you was lighting up. I thought you were saying something.
Uh-uh. I ain't say
Right.
anything. Let me hold on. Let me make sure. I'm gonna take my phone. I'm gonna take it off mute so it didn't give you that.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Okay.
No, I grew up in a two-parent household too, but he wasn't my father. He kept my father away because him and my mom believed that my father was not going to be a good influence. My father was a pimp. He was very abusive. He was on coke and heavy drinker. But my stepfather, he worked every day until he would beat somebody up at work and get fired. He'd come home and beat the fuck out of my mom, tear our house up, and was super abusive and loving and not nurturing, but made sure that we was okay, but very abusive to us. And I found out he was sexually molesting, you know what I'm saying, my sisters. And it was weird. It was weird. I think our homes are so torn up. Aubrey, what is your experience?
With molestation.
Well, whatever, your trauma.
Well, my trauma is basically I was molested by my brother um for countless years, and it was just a experience that I had to still to this day try to overcome mentally um
Mm,
from that, just trying to, whether I recognize some of the emotions or not, I know exactly where they may be stemming from. Like I don't trust men at all. From
mm,
a father standpoint, from a my brother standpoint, I just don't trust men. It's a camaraderie of a lot,
it's
like when I
crazy.
hear how
That
they
was
think.
going to be my question, Aubrey.
Yeah, I don't trust them to a certain point. I feel like sexually, I'm not. Mm-mm. I'm not 100% sexually when it comes to situations and people. I just feel like at certain points, even men disgust me just on
Mm-hmm.
how they think in,
Mm-hmm.
in, in rational things, because it's like, being as young as I was, I knew at the age of 5 that I was different. Being able to step into who I am today, it took a very long time. Gratitude to being able to see 30 years, but
Mm-hmm.
these 30 years have been very, very the fuck difficult. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So there's this hypothetical thing that has been going around. I have not, excuse me, listened to it, heard it, but I have seen the results from it. You remember the girl blocked me the other day because I said something about her response to it.
Uh-huh.
And it's about how us as women, we would prefer a bear in the woods than the men today because we don't trust them. We don't feel protected by them. And I'm gonna go around, but I'm gonna start it because we have about 7-8 minutes left here.
Okay.
Um, I feel like I have a strong distrust for men, but I also have a strong love for them. I don't dislike men. I don't dislike the black men. I love them. And I love them in a way of I understand that they're traumatized, but I understand that hurt people and their victimization, I cannot allow them to victimize me or my sisterhood of women. And so I feel like I just don't have a level of trust, but of sympathy and sorrow for them and hope that maybe they could see something one day and get better. And even in a relationship sense, I really choose to want to just use them for a sexual occasion. Because even when I think about it, y'all, and I try, how you go into your mind like, oh, I want to be in a relationship, and and I'm like, I start going through scenarios of trauma
Yeah.
and like where I don't trust them.
It
And
happens a lot. Yes.
I'm a reader, Aubrey. So even when
Mhm.
I'm looking at a guy, I can read his whole everything. And I'm like, fuck, I just can't trust it like that,
Want that? Mm-mm. Don't want that.
Please come and
But
dick it
then
down and move around.
oh, what you say? I'm
I
sorry.
said, please come and dick it down and move around. So that's
Okay.
my question to everyone. Like, we're gonna start with Aubrey. We go to Jenny, Sheena, then Marshelle. You already said you don't trust me, but like, what is your overall perception of yourself? Um, can you have a relationship, and what do you think it's going to look like, or can you get past that trust issue?
I feel like that I can, but I'm looking for that genuine energy to show me different. I feel like that a lot of guys that come to my table feel like that they have to pretend to be someone that they're not, because the image that they look at me is that I'm this perfect trophy piece of a girl, when really I've built myself to be a woman who is strong and who has been through a lot. But I've never put myself to be on the pedestal to where people have to meet me at my pedestal. It's like I'm a human being. You just have to be able to understand and sit level play with me to understand my situation. Because as a woman, you want me to do that for you. And I think that that is the biggest thing. Men run to their emotions and then they get upset because a lot of women, we all want to be treated to where we can be able to get to that point to have that level to level conversation with you. Fair ground. There is no one else's point is better than the next when you're talking about a dynamics of a relationship. So I
Mm,
just feel like when people come to my table, it's expected for me to dumb down how I feel in certain things or things I may have experienced. And guys are not understanding of that. And then there's a frisk of energy that's just like, you know what, I don't even want to connect anymore. On top of you've already tried to be somebody else that you were not from the get go. So not
mm,
only are you a liar, but you're trying to play the game. And as we heard from Mr. Sean Edwards last night, that was on Diversity. If you haven't checked it out, please go and check it out. That a
mhm,
lot of these guys are using women as video games in the mindset of men. There is
mm,
a reality of men that live in their own world. And as we see, a lot of men are not, they're not respecting the women that are there, especially the Melanite culture of women. So it's like, I want a guy to show me different from beginning to end. I'm reading situations as well.
yeah.
I'm using my gut in certain, like, you, now girl, like I'm
So
talking to
that's how
my,
your trauma shows up inside of your dynamic with men.
say that again.
That's how your trauma shows up inside of the dynamic with men.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it's like, sometimes just meeting people like on just some real type of conversation stuff, like it doesn't have to go that deep, and then you running into the force field of this person adding on a fantasy with that as well, that it just it destroys the whole conversation at that point. Because
Mm,
now I don't even see you as a person, I see you as um a characteristic, an act. You're
mm,
not even a
mm-hmm,
human being, because you're going to focus directly on that. You're not going to focus on the relationship of me as a human being or person. And honestly, outside of that fantasy, I feel that a lot of women are being treated just like that. You're not,
basically, how
you're
can I use you
how can I use you, your being, your
and dispose
beautiful,
of you?
beautiful being? How can I
Mm,
use that for my benefit? Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to support you as I will support my homeboy that is the same being
mm-hmm,
as me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I understand. Gratitude, Ivory.
You're welcome.
Gratitude. Jenny, how does your trauma show up in your dynamic with men? And like, what's your trust? Do you think you can get past these things?
I
First, are you over your abuse?
sometimes I am and sometimes I'm not. Like today I am, tomorrow maybe I'm not.
And how does that show up in your dynamic with men?
I self-sabotage a lot. Well, it's no secret. And I know you and Aubrey know I've been going back between these two men for years. One, I feel like is the love of my life and we should be together. But he lost his son and I lost my stepfather. And that's just had us at a place that I feel like we can't get it together.
Mm.
And I think I even before that, I still sabotage a lot when it comes to relationships. And I think that's because I don't want to get hurt.
Mm. Beat it to the punch.
Exactly. So before you hurt me, fuck you, bye.
Mm.
But you won't come over here tonight and we do this and then you could just go home.
I
So
understand that.
that's what I do.
So it becomes a sex aspect too. Aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heard you. Do you think you can like get past that point?
I can if someone like I like consistency. Like I uh, like just call me, get ready, we going this. Like I just like consistency. I like texting me every day. I don't like talking on the phone a lot. You ain't even got to call me. Just text me. Like
Heard
just
you on
let
that.
me know that you're thinking of me. I like things like that.
What is that called? The like, for the relationship gurus that know the names and stuff. Is that acts of service? Would that be that?
Mm.
I don't know what that is.
No.
That's interesting.
But you know what I love too? That me and um my, I guess, twin flame or whatever you want to call him, we can
Mm-hmm.
sit in silence all day and we enjoy each other's company. We don't have to say anything to each other. It's like we like communicate without saying anything.
Understood.
So
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you this, and then I'll go to Sheena. Do you Damn, I forget how I was getting ready to word that to you. Damn it. Oh, that was a good one too. Because it was based on what you was just saying. Fuck. Because I just let me okay, yeah.
Let me tag.
Is
Okay.
it because of also I won't say because, but do you feel like you were also affected because you said something to us last night with your fine ass brother's child, and you said they ain't shit, they some dogs.
they are.
But because you had the behind the scenes, because I have had behind the scenes, because I have a lot of uncles and cousins and brothers, and you got the behind the scene. Did that give you a look and change something in you, being able to see how they actually think and like you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My brothers, they fine as hell, but they ain't shit.
Mm.
Like I know how men think.
That's so deep.
Like I know how they manipulate
Mm-hmm.
women. I know like a lot of the things that they do, like they'll do enough to reel you in. Once they get you in, they go back to they fuck shit. Like
Mm.
it's just
Mm-hmm.
a lot with men. They manipulate weak women a lot. And I think that's why men tell me a lot, you act like a whole nigga out here in these streets. Like
We have to
you
prove
don't
that
care about
we have to be
nothing.
strong. We have to exude that, or you will get ate the fuck up.
Exactly.
And they get upset because they can't eat you up. That's the crazy part. Like Aubrey was saying, like, how dare you not allow me to take full advantage of you, mistreat you, shit on you, and walk all in and do what I want to do to you? It's
Exactly.
almost a how dare you kind of thing. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Miss Sheena, because of like the trauma, you didn't really speak on your trauma too much as far as like how you felt in the times of being sexually assaulted and what that meant for you and like what was the life like growing up for you. So inside of that trauma and then having sons, like how does that trauma show up to you dealing with your own children?
Okay, so now that's why I said the me that I am now is not the me that I was in 2020. So I went through this my night of the soul. um where any anything that or anyone that harmed me during the course of my upbringing or my life, I wrote it down. I wrote
Mm,
it down. I had to forgive me first.
mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
had to forgive me first because you can't live with all that kind of anger and toxicity. It's so difficult. You won't find healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
I want healthy relationships.
Right.
Rather it's um um it, I want every aspect of my life healthy. And most of the times it starts all of the times it starts from within.
Right.
So I broke up with uh the relationship that I was in 2021, and I haven't been sexually active with a man or women or nobody else.
Right.
Only because I want a superior relationship with me, so that when soul and spirit says this is your mate, I know that my mate is for me.
Heard you on that.
That
So
part.
even with the trauma, like, did you have to work on the relationship with your sons or even your daughter?
Well, yes, because at one point in time with my oldest son, because he got me in such the broken stages that I was in, that by the time my two younger children came along, they didn't have as that that part of me that was just as broken as my oldest son had. They had that I was starting to transform. So they had that mommy going to work. They were latchkey kids. So and my oldest son, he was a latchkey kid, but I was so broken.
So they
You
had
know,
the rough part of you.
right, and of course, now that he's a certain age, with my oldest son, he's a certain age. He's grown. He has children of his own, and and he is a good father. He's a good boyfriend, you know, but he also, because of the innocence in him, he's also, was longing for some things too that he missed along the way that I
Mm.
wasn't able to give him.
Let me ask
And
you this. How
mhm,
old was your oldest, the transition? How old was he at the time of his transition?
he was 31.
Okay. And how did that affect your next oldest?
Okay, so uh he's affected tremendously. Um I see it in him every day.
Mm,
Yeah, he doesn't have he doesn't have his older brother, and essentially, uh even though his dad was a part of his life, his older brother was a stern part of his life as well.
mm-hmm.
And so I see that tremendously every day with my second child.
Mm.
So yes,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually saw him in he saw my son's vessel in that state that it was in the day.
Mm. Got
Right.
Oh wow.
And, and so to hear him say or talk, he was, come on man, let me get you down, man, because it didn't have to. Come on, man, we got some stuff to do, man. So yes, it definitely,
Mm, mm, mm.
um it definitely
Whew.
has taken a toll, and he is 22.
Oh wow.
it. Got it. Got it.
Right. So the That's what's critical at this point in our culture. What's critical at this point in our culture is that we have such a superior relationship with ourselves that we do know healthy when it crosses our path.
Mhm.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And if you just take the exercise and apply it to your own life, like literally I did that. I took a piece of paper, well, quite a few pieces of paper, and some red ink. This might sound oddly strange, but like I said, I was going through something that I couldn't even begin to explain without sounding odd.
Understood. Mm-hmm.
And um as I was, you know, forgiving the parts of me that had gone through so much, um I was forgiving those people too. So I not only wrote a letter to myself for healing, I wrote a letter to them and I burned it under moonlight.
I've done it. Yes.
So did I.
Absolutely.
And
I
this
did that too.
Did that a couple months ago.
Hmm.
but it doesn't stop because you have to do that for every bout of trauma.
Right.
Why? So that you don't hold on to things that you are really not supposed to hold on to. Like,
Hmm.
we're not supposed to hold on to those things. They are programming.
Mm-hmm.
They
We did it at the retreat too. You know,
Hmm.
we wrote things
Oh
down.
yes,
Yeah.
it did.
I've done it several times. Even at one of
Mhm.
my birthday in Miami, we did it. And sorry, Sheena,
it,
stepped in. I'm so sorry.
it's fine. And see, it starts. It definitely one of the most the most important thing to forgive is the abandonment that our parents put us through.
Heard you on that.
That is very important because in most cases,
Wait a minute, we can't hear you.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
That is very important because in most cases, that's the very first relationship that we had. In
Mhm.
every case, that's our very first relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gratitude. Gratitude.
Yes.
Um, Marshelle, so I'm going to pose the question to you in kind of the same way. How does your trauma show up inside of your dynamic with men or anyone? I have to say it like that, but as we saying that and thinking about this, as Sheena was talking, I thought about this. Even with myself, my daughter was traumatized and had some abuse from men as well growing up, and of course, you and Sheena has experienced it and experienced it with your children as well. Do you also feel like that's playing a part now of the level of trust and respect that you have for men, even understanding how they have shown up to your children as well as yourself, going all the way back?
Mm, that's a good question.
I imagine that for myself, it does. For me, I feel like it definitely does play some sort of role. So, like, how does your trauma show up for you in relationships with men? Do you also feel like it shows up that way with women too, like in your friendships?
Right. Some of it be trust issues, but a lot of it I just be feeling like I was agreeing, like when I heard you talking, I'm like, I really be feeling sorry, you know.
Mm,
Um, I really be feeling sorry for a lot of them, and I don't know if that's because didn't nobody never feel sorry for me.
So are we
Wow.
absorbing that? Are we right, Aubrey? Are we absorbing their pain?
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
So we're still
Hmm.
coddling in a sense.
In a sense, but do you think that that's because at the end of the day, the alpha woman is the one that that's the sense of protection that's in the nature.
Yeah, I do. And I think that's exactly why we step in and absorb. Um, just hearing Marshelle even say that, like, we absorb. Like, I'm gonna allow you to hurt me so you can feel better.
Or because nobody never protected or coddled her.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Got it. Got it.
And then that's when I keep finding myself in another fucked up situation and another fucked up, like, okay, you know.
And so that's kind of how your trauma from even then is showing up, because they are not even asking, how are you, or what's going on with you. It's almost like you're just kind of getting back into, do you feel like you're reliving that trauma over and over?
Mm.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I did.
Mm.
Up until, when you had the healing with the church couldn't fix, and I guess I just really didn't, it really didn't hit me to, Yehuda had told me to look at the door, and I kept looking, and he told me, like, go there, and I was like, yes, and he said exactly. And he brought up with the dresser thing, he's like, the dresser is up there.
Hold on. Stacy, Jenny, push mute your background. Okay, there you go, Marshall. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that, I was still in some kind of way holding on.
To what?
I pushed it. As far as my trauma, what happened to me at the age of 12.
Got it.
So that's what I'm saying. So did nobody feel sorry for me? So I'm just like,
so you've had to kind of sweep it, and just keep pushing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what we do. That is what we do.
Yeah.
Listen, this was good. And let me say this. I may have canceled the tour and I may have canceled the aesthetics, but the birthday where we're going to the cabin, I still feel like we need that. So that is definitely the fuck still on,
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's healing, and we may not do it fully like we did the retreat, which was so powerful and healing in itself.
That was really
Yeah.
good.
But I feel like we still
Doing
need.
too big.
What you say, bitch?
Not to say that you won't be able to do another one, because, girl, I feel like that one is going to be the top tier one.
Yeah, that's where we all grew. Me, you, and Marshelle grew together.
Yes.
The retreat, I already said at the retreat, she said, I'm already ready for part two. Like, I think we should be counselors.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Right.
We all deal with so much trauma. And as I'm listening to all of you beautiful portals here, and we're speaking, and I'm just looking at your pictures, and I'm can't see Marshelle, but I know what her look like. And I'm looking at your beautiful faces, and then I glanced up and I saw that it was 242 people on here. And I say that to say that earlier, when I had the drama, it was over 600, almost 700 people. And that told me that we will show up for drama before we show up for healing.
Yep.
And so because of that, I refuse, and my bitches better pull my coattail to come on with drama on my live any further.
Period.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
And I will hold you accountable.
And
Please
so I,
Today.
because
I text you and be like, no, we're not doing this.
it's disturbing to see this, because you would show up for the mess before you would show up for yourself, because you're not showing up for us. You were showing up for your own growth and healing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just where it might affect you at a trick, like it seems like somebody's story always resembles another story.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I know I've tried Marshelle, girl. I've tried not to do it before, but baby, listen, where we're getting ready to go, I just don't.
Oh, excuse me. My apologies.
Go ahead, Miss Sheena.
But
No.
one of the things is frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of us do not understand the importance of vibrating at a higher level than
Mhm.
drama.
Some
And
don't want to.
I teach it. And I
Right.
teach it. And that's the crazy part. Like, mm-mm. You're
You
right.
know, it's even on diversity.
Yes.
I noticed that there's not a lot of people sometimes there. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I bet if there was some drama going, they would be here.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
But you want to know the crazy thing, Cosmic? And I told Q this when we were in the meeting this week. I told her, I said, before I brought diversity back, because this has been something that was on air or could have been already viral with the 40,000 views that it was getting, almost 30,000 views it was getting on Facebook, excuse me, 30,000 on Facebook. And when I brought it back in my mind, I said, I don't want the mess.
Yeah.
I don't,
Mm-hmm.
because what I'm talking about, what I'm going to be talking about, what I'm going to be discussing is not going to be about this. It's going to be about the healing of the people,
Hmm.
which brought Sheena here tonight to tell her story, because at the end of the day, we were collectively in a moment of healing each other one by one.
Right.
Last night's episode, very beautiful. I would rather have the people that deserve to be there, because word of mouth is everything. We
Yes.
people try to control the narrative of mess and negative energy, but one thing about it is that you always need to know that I'm never going to stop being me. And when you disrespect me, sometimes you do have to be put back into your place. But you're right, governess. It is time for us to be able to elevate in the places that we're going.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
No longer going back with anybody that does not serve me in any way, form, or.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I most definitely show gratitude because
Yeah.
you got to understand. I held on to what I went through for 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to be able to finally just kind of.
Well, let me have you answer this question, Marshelle, because somebody had asked the question soon as you started. So that was like an hour ago.
Hmm.
Miss Kayla said, "Did you press charges?" And reason why I wanted to kind of wait till the end to allow you to speak on this is because this is where the power comes in at. So tell them what you're trying to do.
Um, currently at this moment, I done spoke to. He wrote up the report. I had the detective to reach out to me. So I supposed to be going down there to give my statement in person, but they was telling me with the limitations for the state of Arkansas, when something like that happened as a minor, you only have 15 years because they changed the laws. And they said the only way that basically I can have a case if it's DNA proven. Well, I got my son, and we had a DNA test done when I was 18. And so, yeah, so I'm currently at this moment in the process of pressing charges against him.
And taking your power back.
Taking your power back. Yes.
Yeah,
Great.
because it's
Most
never too
definitely
late.
taking my voice back and everything. Because
Hmm.
So proud of you.
when you have people, like I said, on top of not asking, like you had a whole rumor and your name tarnished going around the town about something that never did occur. And not one time did anybody say, "Oh no, I didn't. No, I didn't touch her. No, I didn't. No, it wasn't nothing like that. Like no, you know."
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad and I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of everybody on here, including myself.
Me
So,
too.
Yes.
Aubrey, this is Yo Uncut. Please take us out of here, Miss Aubrey Marie.
All right, y'all. Well, it has been an awesome time to have a good conversation with powerful women in regards to um us just letting everybody know that taking back your strength and standing in your strength is possible. Gratitude to everybody for coming on and having the courage to be someone else's um example of a survivor. This has been Diversity's Uncut. And I guess we would look forward to speaking with you guys or seeing you guys. Is it every other Saturday, Q? How you want to do it?
Whenever it moves us, you know what I'm
When
saying? We feel like there's something that needs to be spoken on. Absolutely, Amber.
if we need to have a deep conversation, you will see us immediately as a part two to kind of break down that episode so that we all collectively can be able to kind of unpack what happens, So we will see y'all on the next go round. I appreciate all of you ladies, and we're gonna peace out.
Peace out.
Gratitude.
Gratitude. All right.